All right, the number of persons who have been kidnapped in Oyo State and the number of days they've been in captivity is a worrisome situation which has drawn both local and international concern. Now, I looked at technology. Technology remains the gateway through which most of our problems can be resolved. Sometimes in 2018 and 2020, we did the Nigerian e-government performance index survey, and that survey actually showed us that most Nigerian government agencies are not using AI as much as they should. So then we did a research to find out how can technology really help us to deal with the issue of insecurity. And so the easiest tool, which is freely available for anybody to use, is AI. And so I went on AI. Give me an immediate action plan for a 72-hour rescue of the people who are held in captivity. And here is the result. And it's important that government agencies actually learn to leverage technology to deliver on their operations, to deliver on citizen expectation, and to also improve our security. Now, what is key, as you can find here, is intelligence and tracking. Now, according to AI, and which I also agree with, there's a need to establish a joint operations command center, including the Army, the Air Force, the police, the DSS, the Civil Defense Corps, Ametoko, vigilantes, and maybe members of the community. But this joint operation command center, as of now, correct me if I'm wrong, has not been established, which is a cause for concern, right? And then we need to exploit mobile phone data, ransom calls, informants, and local intelligence network immediately. How far and how well the government is doing this, maybe it's happening back and we do not know, but if this is not happening, they need to actually put mechanism in place to ensure that this is done. And then conduct rapid mapping of likely forest routes, hideouts, and escape corridors. So what this entails is you need to surround them on every end and from every side so that escape becomes very difficult. So intelligence and tracking remains top priority. Then we also look at air surveillance, which is a question that most Nigerians are asking. How well have our air force been effective in responding to the security challenges we are facing? Yes, we have thick forests, we have large expanse of forest, which would be difficult for ground operation to be really successful. But with the Air Force, we have Air Force aircraft, we have possibility of drones. So it's not all of these operations that will require the massive aircraft with fuel boardings and all of those logistic challenges. We can deploy drones, and then drones and helicopter can carry out 24-hour aerial surveillance within that area and around the perimeter. So they need to monitor forests, abandoned settlements, river crossing, and movement corridors. Then, of course, providing real-time intelligence to ground forces. So it needs to be a combination of both ground force integration as well as aerial operation. And then the ground operation would be coordinated through a cordon and search operation around the suspected locations. They need to have sealed major road, forest exits, and state boundaries to prevent movement of captors, and then deploy special forces. Do we have special forces? I do not know, but security agencies are better informed to provide that information. So these special forces and anti-kidnapping units need to be deployed to rescue those who are trapped. Of course, the community cannot be neglected. Activate trusted hunters, vigilantes, and Motekum personnel who are familiar with that local terrain, offer confidential hotlines. I've not seen any confidential hotlines since this incident occurred. Hotlines where citizens can call to report what they suspect. Farmers can call, community members can call if they suspect something where they need to report. We don't have any of such national confidential hotlines, even in the midst of insecurity, which is a cause for concern. Then immediate reward for credible information, protecting informants and witnesses. Yeah, these are really low-hanging fruits that we need to explore. Then, of course, we need to manage the negotiation, including maintain controlled communication channels with abductors, gather intelligence from every contact while avoiding actions that endanger the hostages, and then ensure all negotiation efforts support rescue planning. And then what should the government do? It's not security agencies alone. For Oyo State government, there's a need to provide regular factual public briefings. And this, if possible, needs to happen every week so that the citizens are aware that the government is doing something, as against the current system where the government is always quiet and people don't really understand what is going on. Then provide support affected families with counseling and security updates. The family needs support, the family needs care, and they also need to know what is going on. Announce credible reward for actionable intelligence. There needs to be some form of incentive, so to say, to stimulate positive action towards the rescue of the kidnapped students as well as teachers, and then strengthen security around schools and vulnerable communities immediately. Now, we don't want us to go from one incident to another. And one way we can stop it is to learn from these incidents and ensure that all the schools are protected so that this incident does not occur. But a situation where we usually wait for incidents to occur before we respond is not the right way to go. Then the federal government too also has a responsibility. There is a need to declare the incident a national security priority. And I think if this has not been done, it should be done. Deploy additional intelligence and special operations assets. The life of every Nigerian should matter. And how we would know whether the life of every Nigerian matter is the action of the government. So when incidents of this nature occur, the government needs to get on their feet. They need to start showing activity. They need to show the care. They need to get to the field and ensure that people have confidence in them in protecting life and property. Because security incidents or breaches cannot be 100% prevented. But when it happens, the government needs to show that they take responsibility for whatever lapse or gaps will have occurred and ensure that it is resolved. Coordinate all agencies under a single operational command. We should have that coordination at this point. Provide surveillance technology and emergency funding. Emergency funding in the area of improving technology and infrastructure to be able to track, carry out area surveillance is what we're talking about, not emergency funding that will end up in the pocket of a few individuals and then not deliver on the security requirements. Intensify nationwide action against kidnapping network and their financiers. We've not seen a lot in this aspect. So how should the government manage the citizen and public anxiety? They should communicate frequently and transparently, avoid speculation and misinformation, because when the citizens find out that what the government is telling them is different from what is happening on ground, then you have a situation of public distrust. Reassure the citizens that all security assets are engaged. The citizens need to know that government is on top of this situation, that all security options and assets are being explored, and this is what will give the citizens confidence that the government is really working. People don't expect the president, commander in chief of the armed forces, to be the one in the forest trying to rescue those people who are kidnapped. That's not the expectation. But the expectation is that the government should be proactive in their dealings and also ensure that they are transparent in reporting whatever development is happening to the citizens. Then they need to ensure or encourage reporting of suspicious movements around verified channels. And this would happen where we have a confidential national toll-free line. I don't know if we have any at this point. If we have, I think it should be a common decimal for all Nigerians to be aware that it may not be 911 as we have in more advanced economies like the US, but we can have our own national toll-free line where people can call to report. And for issues that are reported, they should be given speedy and prompt attention. Now, the fact that we say that the citizens should be kept abreast of development does not actually mean releasing sensitive operational details which will compromise the rescue mission. That's not what we're saying. But basically, what we're saying is that the government should show action, should show empathy, and should show progress that they are making in rescuing people who have been kidnapped. Then preserve the remaining lives of the captive. This should be a priority. The lives must be preserved. There should be rapid location of the kidnappers. Their escape routes should be isolated, and then intelligence should actually lead the rescue operations within the shortest possible time. Now, this is what I could deduce from artificial intelligence. So imagine if government officials, the ministers responsible, the head of security architecture and apparatus, if they are really using this technology to drive their activity, as against going online and looking for those criticizing the government to arrest them, or looking for a means of dissuading the people that whatever incident that has happened is political or it's not necessary to talk about. Those conversations are baseless and needless conversations. We should learn how other countries around the world are dealing with their security situation, because security situations are real. They require proactive response, and technology as basic as the free version of ChatGPT will give you this information that you require for planning so that we can execute and achieve the best. And the best outcome is that these people are released unconditionally and that the country is improved in terms of the level of security architecture that's been put in place.